All right, we're recording. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the inventory. I'm your host, Detective Johan, also known as Rinka Best Girl. And with me, I've got the SPNatI, as usual. Say hi.
Hello.
And we've got two guests today. Why don't you guys say hello?
Hi, I'm Faraway Vision.
Hello. And what did you do?
Sorry.
Oh, yeah. I made Monika. Or, I'm making Monika. I also do programming.
He's responsible for the game running more smoothly as of late.
Yeah. He eliminated the toaster tables, basically.
Anyways, I am Pivotal Cog. I am a mod on the subreddit and GitLab, and I also made characters like Pin and Palutena.
Yep. Okay. Now that we've got the introductions out of the way, I believe it's time to move on to the news in the game recently. Not much has happened since last time. Black Canary came back to the testing tables. Oh, SPNatI, you're typing?
That was supposed to be, you were supposed to keep talking.
Oh. Okay, sorry.
I was typing.
Oops. Black Canary came back to the testing tables. I believe that she got, what was it, like 1,000 new lines of dialogue?
Like 500, 600?
Okay.
A lot of new targeted lines.
Up to about 1,100 lines.
It's pretty good. Targets a lot of new characters. Not mine, which kind of makes me laugh.
Yeah,
apparently being first page isn't good enough. Being the very first on the list isn't good enough to be targeted.
I believe that Niels, Frostfire 5, Connor, and Black Market King are working on getting a couple of DC characters on that game right now.
Right.
And I think Black Canary is the first of that batch.
Yeah, they're making a Birds of Prey table.
Well, we've got like 2 Marvel characters right now, with Scarlet Witch and Gwen, and Captain America will be coming eventually, maybe in 2020.
Captain America returns in Infinity War.
I didn't see that movie. I don't know if he died.
How have you not? Okay, you know what? No.
Because I don't give a shit about Marvel movies.
Okay, next up is the Beatrix model update happened, and hot damn.
Now she has her giant fuck-off syringe for an arm.
Yeah.
So that's sort of a must-target.
Oh, yeah, it is. But,
definitely a huge improvement from the old model.
Oh, yeah, Lee's better.
That literally, got off the ground because some guy on 4chan just completely, tore into her. Fucking Beatrix's model is terrible.
Yeah, but Blue took it pretty well, and he ended up making one of the better-looking models in the game with some help.
Yeah. She's pretty on model now. So all it takes is a little tough love.
More like ARM model. Anyway, moving forward, we have Amalia, Faye Valentine, and Joey, the clown, were all sponsored and added into the main game.
Right. Joey, just yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
At the time of this recording.
All 3 of which are pretty solid characters.
Yeah.
They're all very worthy additions.
Mm-hmm.
Amalia with pretty much the best model work in the whole game. Mouse is on Kisuke version 100, and we're all stuck on 68.
Mouse is living in 3018 while we're all living in 2018.
Pretty much. That's
the Emperor God of Kisuke.
Yeah. Well, we've designated him as such on the Discord server.
Yep. Anyway, that's all the updates that have happened to the game since the last podcast. Well, why don't you guys, SPNatI and I, our upcoming projects are the same since last time. Why don't you guys go into...
Revy is well underway, the dialogue update. So I expect her fairly soon. I'm starting with just generic lines and some conditional lines just to get a feel for her voice, so she's a little less repetitive. She expresses a few more emotions. she's still violent and aggressive. Just like, sometimes
you-
she forgets things or like.
Are you
the
telling me
smoke
that
break.
she has the ability to express more than just anger?
Well, actually, Revy as she is now isn't really like angry all that much compared to like how angry she is in the show. Like she's mostly smug, which is definitely like a big character trait, but it's not her only character trait. So I'm just kind of trying to get a few of the other ones going. But she's still gonna shit talk. I'm gonna give her a bunch of targeted lines to the new characters, and that'll be fun.
I can't wait to see that happen.
Hey, well, if you respond, you're gonna get out of Revy what you put into it.
Alrighty. So, Cog, how about your upcoming projects? What do you got?
Well, recently I've been working on major line updates for my current 4 characters, so Pit, Palutena, Mia, and Mahiru. I'm hoping to bring them all up to over at least 2K lines. And beyond that,
Pit's already over 2K, ain't he?
Just a little bit.
well, yes, but you know what I mean. Beyond that, I have a few more projects in the works. I'm going to work on Setsuna from Fire Emblem Fates sometime in the far future, along with Elisa and a collab with SNS Chase on Cynthia from Pokemon.
Yep. Isn't the Setsuna model another one of Mouse's works?
That it is. It's a very good
Oh God,
one.
nice.
Huh?
Said that's nice.
Yep. Mouse makes some
Can we just
quality.
get Mouse to make all the models because this is better than anything we could come up with.
It would be an interesting SPNatI Mouse edition when.
At some point, can he just take time out of his life to redo everyone's models?
Well, you know what?
We'll
That
do the
gives me an
posing.
idea. That gives me an idea for a question when we get to that part of the podcast.
It would be a net benefit for the game for just every model to be done by Mouse.
It's true. Any other projects, Cog?
Not in particular, but there is something going on the subreddit right now that I have a hand in. There's a 10K subscriber contest going on right now that I encourage all of you to participate in.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that'll be good. I was hoping to talk about that in a bit.
Sorry, too busy writing Revy. Too many swears. Not enough time.
Understandable.
Have a nice day. All right, Viz, what about you? We know that you've got that project.
Monica?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
The one and only.
I've also got, I'm probably going to start working, or at least start helping with a Neo rework for Neo. BV sounds like he's okay with it. He's on vacation now, but he says he'll check out the preliminary work. Whatever.
Isn't BB currently credited as her writer? Which I really don't think anyone deserves credit for Neo's writing.
Yeah.
Although Neo recently got an update, she's now up to 26 lines. So Chell now has the fewest lines in the game. Up from 4 lines Neo used to have.
Didn't I hear you say that you were interested in making Shizune at some point?
Oh, yeah. Basically, they're both going to run with kind of the same idea in terms of how their dialogue's going to work.
Now, do you feel like giving that away, or are you going to make the audience anticipate?
Yeah, perhaps I'll just give it away. I kind of don't want to see Neo get cut from the game, so that's probably why.
I mean, I'm not a big fan of mute characters in general. I could see at least one of them sticking around, just as for novelty's sake.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Ruby is a pretty big draw, and she does the shape-shifting thing with the other Ruby characters. So if anyone, I guess I'd rather keep Neo around.
I believe that Andrew and I think Metalatar are working on a Chell rework, aren't they?
Right, where like Wheatley talks to her or talks for her,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
would be
yeah.
far better than what she is now. And it's basically the same joke of haha, Chell doesn't talk, but she gets to be a real character because Wheatley can talk for her.
That
So
sounds
it's
like it'd be
both worlds
awkward
right
as
there.
hell once you get to the forfeit phase.
Oh yeah, does she just insert the cores on? Okay, you know what? Never mind. Don't want to get kicked off Podbean.
Into the furnace.
Into the furnace. Yes, of course.
What did you think we were going to say?
Obviously.
Alrighty.
What's next on the
dang.
agenda?
I think that we're
By the
going
way, if you haven't played with Monika, she has a lot of, well, let's say interesting effects.
Oh yes, she does.
A lot of, a lot of
before-
JavaScript magic there.
Before
Let's
we
just
move
say don't play
into
her
the
mobile.
QA, why don't you guys tell us a little bit about how you did your magnum opuses, Cog? If you could tell us a little bit about how you were able to get like just do your outstanding work with Pitt, and if Viz, you wouldn't mind explaining how you came up with all those Monica ideas. That'd be a little interesting thing to hear.
Well, when it comes to Pitt, you have to understand the context of time. At the time when I was developing him, there really weren't a lot of good males in the game. So I had to do something to make him stand out. And I figured that
There were 0 good males in the game.
basically, I wanted him to stand out, so I just wanted to go all out with the targeting. Because before I had done a decent amount of targeting with me and Palutena, but if I want people to like Pitt, I had to go basically all out. So that's basically how it happened.
It worked.
You set the example.
It really
Yeah.
did. Pitt
Pitt's
became
best
the
boy, and he got on the front page even without like the requirement that a male has to be on the table on the first
Yep.
page. I don't know how many people voted in the male poll, but it was enough. And he
It was
pretty
less
much
in the female pool, but I'm
He
still
ran away
grateful
with
for how it happened.
that just means the people that voted for Pitt really care.
I've got a question, Cog. Why Pitt?
Because Kid Icarus Uprising is the best game of all time.
You know, I'm not going to argue with you. It's a very solid game. You and
Todd
I
just
are
doesn't
the-
want to admit that like Pitt is his husband, though. Hey, if you ask me, hey, Maya has 7,000 lines, is she your waifu? I'm going to own that and say, of course she is.
Anyway, Cog, I think that you can take some solace in that, knowing that I'm the only other person on the Discord that has played Kid Icarus Uprising.
I'll play it when I have money.
It's a solid game.
It
Anyway,
is.
Although I hear you need like a third hand to control it.
not if you can get good.
All right.
Use your feet.
I actually, never mind.
I have a
Try to
3DS
stay on
that's
topic.
just collecting dust, so.
So, Viz, how did you come up with all those Monica ideas? Because there's a lot of cool stuff going on behind the scenes there. Like, you showed up out of nowhere, and you've really done some magic on this game.
A lot of it, it's like, well, before I started making Monica, I started off by trying to do some back-end stuff, like kind of under the hood work. So that helped me get familiar with kind of how the game functions internally. And then from there, it was pretty easy to just start kind of extending it. So start basically producing Monica's effects.
How'd you come up with all the ideas for Monica's different effects? Like, obviously, they're the ones that she does in the game, but there's a couple of other unique stuff that she does here and there.
Like the glitching effect, that's kind of pretty much, it was kind of inspired by what you see in the game with all the graphical glitches, of course. But then, like, basically, I ended up just looking up on Google, like, kind of glitch effect generators and such, and then just kind of tried emulating that with my own code. And then the others, like the other effects, are either like are built on top of that, or like there's just kind of, I don't know.
All right, very informative.
All I've learned today is that there's an 8% chance that Monika wrote herself.
So which one of Monika's effects is your favorite?
I'd say it's probably one of the two glitching effects, either the kind of glitch block one or the weird color thing she does, because those were the ones that were most interesting to write from a technical perspective.
All right, now I gotta ask you, why Monika?
Because she's my waifu.
Solid
What other
fucking
reason?
answer.
Well, if you're not on the Discord, he does have a Monika avatar.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, I think it's about time we move on to the question and answer portion of the podcast. All right.
I'm listening.
The first question is, what would you guys say is the hardest step of writing a character?
Generic lines.
Yeah,
Just getting started.
Definitely generic lines.
Specifically, removing minor.
Minor lines are just the worst.
Because it's like, with an accessory, you can be like salty if it's like, if your character's late in the game, like, oh, I've lost so much and you're just removing an accessory. If it's early in the game, you can be like, oh, you know, more playful, like, yeah, it's still early. But then like, minor, it's like not quite small enough for that kind of playful or salty reaction, but it's also not big enough for like a whoa kind of thing, you know?
Well, one of the things I rely on, and what I think really helps make a character feel real, is that they don't necessarily have to comment on everything that's going on, because obviously you can imagine them at a table and they can see it and everyone knows that. So, you know, you don't have to every line be like, oh, just your clothing name. You can like have them thinking to themselves like, ah, shit, did I do the laundry today?
Oh.
You know? Or like, I need a smoke break. Or like, I wonder what else I have to do today. You know,
That might
how
actually help
many
me.
things have I taken off already?
That might help me write Hanako, actually.
Yeah, like thinking about like, oh, how would one of my friends act in this situation?
I'd rather not think about my friends in that situation.
Removing minor lines are like what I kind of saved that for if I can't think of anything.
All right, that's actually some pretty solid advice.
It's
Random
also
idle chatter.
Yeah, it's also good to put that on like okay hand lines, because if it's just an okay hand, then the player can probably get that if they're not saying anything about the hand, then it's just okay.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty.
That's what I'm doing with Revy a lot, just to give her a little more humanity.
All right, the next question is,
She's just like, it's an okay hand. It's just like, where does Dutch keep our money?
who is your favorite character to write targeted lines to?
Anyone who has an active author and responds a lot.
Yep.
Like any of like Namasp's characters. You write a line to Marinette, you know you're going to get a response eventually, and you can have a lot of fun with that banter.
Yep, I was going to say Mappy too, since he makes Futaba and Ochiko, and they're two of my best girls. And then Cog's characters will always respond. SPNatI, your characters always respond too.
Well, I figure they're obscure enough that I sort of, you know, I have to give more than I get automatically.
You have to do something to get him out there.
Yeah.
I think outside
It's
of
like a Christmas present whenever someone targets them.
active characters, I like to target Kyoko, even though she's not going to respond back, just because I like her and think she's a cute. I like detectives, go figure.
Well, when
Yeah.
it comes to Kyoko's gloves, you sort of have to target her.
Yeah, and that's honestly like it's a must target, but it's only one stage, so I think it's fine. I think it's a very acceptable one target, and I think it lets for some like rather wholesome moments, honestly. So I think that specifically Kyoko's glove removal is one of my favorite things to write lines for.
I mean, Revy just makes fun of her. Just like, what happened? Deep fryer accident?
Jesus Christ.
Alrighty. What about you,
I mean,
Cog?
she knows a woman with burns. It doesn't bother her.
Well, target all the active authors too. But if I had to pick one character that I like to target the most, I would have to say Q. Just
Oh, yeah.
Her lines are just so memorable.
We couldn't have gotten a bigger meme lord to write Q.
It was really a match made in heaven.
It really was.
What about-
Yuri always does either the meme lord characters or yanderes, or possibly both.
We can never let Yuri get a hold of a meme lord yandere. At that point, it'll
Why?
just
So
be
she'll actually finish it?
Ooh, being called out.
Yeah, we can get her back on the podcast, and she can argue with me. She did it once.
All right, Viz. So you haven't really gotten a character into the core game, so I guess I'm really interested in seeing your perspective on this. But what characters do you like to write targeted lines for?
What's up, rookie?
This is the question that made me realize that I actually haven't written that many targeted lines yet.
No, you've written a couple towards 9S and Amy, and I think Ochiko, but that's all I remember off the top of my head.
That's pretty much all I've written so far, yeah.
You gave one response to Mayo, which I appreciated. Which is like, Maya thinks like there's something off about you. There's something weird in your eyes.
Well, do you have go on.
I kind of forgot I wrote that. Oh well. But
So yeah,
Do you
Maya
have
kind of
a-
like sees underneath the lines a little bit, and Jor's just like, "Ooh, a schoolgirl. What are you like? You're a cutie."
Do you have anybody you're interested in writing targeted lines for?
I think I have some ideas for writing lines towards Q, but I think it'll take somewhere before I can really, or like it'll take me a bit more time to get that sorted out, I guess.
Well, I'm excited to see what they've got.
Aren't you helping with Sayori too?
Oh yeah,
Oh, I didn't
Back
know
from the
that.
dead.
I forgot about that.
She's not important.
Ooh.
So all four of the cursed waifus, the Doki Doki girls, are in development.
Yep.
Oh,
Well,
you
I
know
mean,
who
one of
his
them's
coming out
favorite
soon.
is.
What?
I was just saying he's made clear who his favorite is, so it makes sense he would forget her.
Yep. Unfortunately, the best Doki is being made by Yuri Space Pirates, so it's going to be forever and a day till we see her in a game.
I think we all know how she's gonna masturbate.
Oh God, no!
Oh, God.
What?
Alrighty, now moving on, we've got some personal questions. Specifically for Faraway Vision, what inspired you to go above and beyond with Monika? P.S. She's amazing.
Well, I mean, aside from the whole "she's my waifu" thing, like I've always kind of wanted to make something unconventional, something that's really, really out there. So, and then from there, it's just kind of like a no-brainer to combine it with like my love for programming.
By the way, her being your waifu is a perfectly legitimate reason to make her.
I mean, hey, I can respect that. I understand that. I've been there. Okay. Next question is for Cog. What sort of things do you look for when writing targeted lines from Pit?
For Pitt specifically, I tend to look for things that would mesh well with his personality. Like, does this character like jokes, or do they like food or hot springs? And for more general things of how I target characters, I tend to look for things that are like more bantery, because there's only so many ways you can respond to. Next, I'll be taking off my boots so many times.
Yeah, but you write lines for all those situations. So what do you default to when that happens?
Mostly default to like just how I think they respond. I don't really have a like set way of how I make them react to them.
I mean, if you look at a lot of the old characters that have like one stripping line, then Pit just kind of responds to whatever their generic line is because they're probably never going to get an update.
Rest in peace, Kyoko.
More or less.
Yeah. That's sort of an issue I'm having with Revy right now because she was stagnant for so long that people kind of targeted her based on what she said in her generic lines. But I'm adding a whole bunch of those. So suddenly they're going to more than likely be responding to something she didn't say.
Alrighty, the next question is for me. Which one of your collab partners would you most likely want to do a new project with? Alright, who have I collabed with so far? I've collabed with Kuro, with Cog,
Oh, God.
and Mouse, and I guess technically Superfluous.
You know, if you look at the spreadsheet for like works in progress, your list is now longer than Yuri's.
To be fair, I only made models. I'm not writing a bajillion characters like Yuri is, so you can't really compare us. Okay?
I'm going to go ahead and do it.
It's different when it's me because I want it to be different.
You learned it by watching her.
I'm just gonna message Yuri after this podcast. I'm gonna be like, I learned it from watching you, Mom, and she's not gonna get it until this podcast goes up. Anyway,
Screenshot her reaction.
I will. Let's see
That's
here.
why you should stick with 1 or 2 works in progress, kids.
Now, to be fair, I've only got about 5-ish characters I'm actively working on at the moment, with 5-ish more coming in the future. The rest is just models I gave to people, because I love making Kisuke models. It's like crack.
You did
Anyway.
give me Elisa Miles, so that's pretty nice.
I don't like making models. I don't like doing the art. I only like writing. So
You're an
that's the only
outlier
part
like
I
that.
enjoy.
Anyway,
Once
if I had to...
do like Ayla and Balalaika, I'm just stopping there. I'm going to have 5 characters I'm in charge of writing, and I'm just going to keep writing lines for them, and I'm going to build higher and higher.
Until we can make a book.
I'm pretty sure we can already make a book.
More lines than the Bible in this game. Anyway, if
What's
I had
the
to
total
pick...
number of lines in this game? Like 75,000 or something?
Sounds about right. Anyway, to answer the question, if I had to pick somebody to collab with again, to be honest, any one of them would be great. Like, I mean, Kuro's kind of been missing in action ever since he helped with Chiaki. Superfluous, he makes quality characters. I wouldn't, if I did collab with him, it'd have to be on a trap character, though, because that's just who we are. It is who we are.
Gross.
Cog, I'd love to collab with you again. It was super fun, and like, dude, your characters are all outstanding. They're like, Pit's my favorite character in the game, and working on Mahir was a blast. And like Mouse, just having my name attached to Mouse's model makes me feel like unworthy because, hot damn, Mouse can do something crazy Kisuke work. Anyway, moving on to the next question is, for SPNatI, if you had to write a male character, you have to, who would you want to make?
I've been giving this some thought. You know, I don't really like male characters. Well, I shouldn't say that, but like, okay, if you want to make a male character, that's fine. There's plenty of quality male characters. Pit, 9S, Melkorin, Yuichi Jin, who's on the testing tables. They're all great. Captain America, anyone I missed. There's a lot of great male characters. You can make them. I'll target them. I probably won't play with them outside of testing, but they're great. It's just I wouldn't want to make one. If I had to make one, Gordon Freeman.
Gordon Freeman?
That way I could make the model, and I could write one line, which is ... and then I can publish him, and I can get back to work making titties. Put a lot of thought into that one.
All right.
Look.
I dislike your loophole, but I respect it.
Well, I dislike your question, okay? Because
I didn't ask the question.
look, at the end of the day, this is a porn game. All right. I write thousands of lines because I like writing thousands of lines, but if the character's not sexually appealing to me, then it's not worth my time to do that. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't work on the game if I had to work on a man.
Alrighty. Moving on to the next question is, for Faraway Vision and Cog, besides me and Spananon, if you guys came back to the podcast, who would you want to have with you?
I think if I had to have a guest with me, I'd want it to be either Namasp or Pat Isdom, just so I could call this a modcast.
Oh! Well, unfortunately, Pat has already gone out of his way to say that he isn't interested in being. Well, he is interested, but he doesn't want his voice out there. So he's not going to ever end up being on the podcast. But he could have Arndress on here. I mean,
Is someone going to recognize Pat by his voice?
I mean, you know.
Is he like a newscaster? If someone recognized me by my voice in some random anime titty game, I'd be pretty impressed.
Yeah, for real.
They could shake my hand.
Yeah, that's some
all
absurd detective work. But yeah, what about you, Viz?
I think it might actually be kind of interesting to be on here with Reform Copyright.
The other code god.
Yeah.
The code cast.
I think, yeah, that could be interesting. Reform's done a lot of work on this game that I just do not understand.
Yeah, every one of his merge requests is just like, what the fuck?
It's like reading, it's like trying to trying to understand his merge request is like trying to explain the ending of Evangelion to somebody, but in French. and you don't speak French.
And you watched the series in French.
Yeah, so
what's there to understand about End of Evangelion? It's a couple of giant naked Ray, Shinji wants to bang her. What else is there?
It all keeps tumbling down.
And then he ends up because he fucked up, he ends up with worst girl, Asuka. And they have to live together.
Alrighty. Moving on to the next question is how much of a writer's voice ends up in a character versus the voice of the source? How much should? I gotta say, when I first wrote Rinka, I'm gonna say that a lot of my voice ended up in there. With characters I wrote later on, like Chiaki or Mahiru or Saki, I was able to write more close to their source. I personally think it's good to get a character as close to the source material as possible. Obviously, you won't be able to perfectly replicate them, and that's fine, as long as you make something entertaining in the end, in my opinion.
Well, that's why writing generic lines are the hardest. Well, it's like the first 100 lines are the hardest because you're constantly doubting yourself, and if you can really capture their voice, because it's sort of like a weird context to be writing them in, it's really hard starting off. But I mean, obviously, you can't completely divorce yourself and your voice from the character. You can't completely divorce your style. There's certain poses in Kisuke that you just think look better than others.
Yuri.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of mouths that I see people use. I'm just like, oh, that's awful. Why would you ever use that? That's not a human expression.
I'm pretty sure I'm guilty of using the same thinking pose in nearly all of my characters.
Well, it's because it's one of the few that work in Kisuke. It's kind of limited. But, I mean, when your character can't raise their shoulders or, lower their head, there's only so much you can do there.
Just kind of rotate their shoulder towards the camera. Yeah.
Right. But,
what about you, Cog and Viz? What do you think? How much of a character's voice should be their creators and how much should be their source?
I think there can be a healthy balance between the two, but in pretty much every case, you want to get closer to the source than your own voice. And obviously there's some, no matter how hard you try, there will always be some of your voice that'll slip through. I tried to emulate Mahiru as close as possible to her Danganronpa 2 source, but I know for a fact that some of my personal saying slipped in.
Like what?
Like, she has an aversion to saying, like, describing words like cool or awesome, but I'm sure I use those for at least some of her lines.
I just think the goal you should have is that if you make multiple characters, if someone doesn't look at the credits, they shouldn't be like immediately able to tell that you're the one who made them. If they're not like intimately familiar with your characters.
Like,
I mean, I can tell you made Jura and Maya since you're the only fucker on the planet who watched Vandred.
Okay, yeah, but try to remove that. I mean, they don't really talk the same, do they?
No, they don't.
That's what I mean. Like, you should be okay. Ideally, you would want to look at those two and say, "Oh, that's a Maya line," or "That's a Jura line," not "Oh, that's a SPNatI line." When Revy comes out, I would hope, or when I push a Revy update, I would hope that people wouldn't be like, "Oh, well, it's obviously the same guy who wrote Maya," because they sure don't talk the same.
Yeah, that you know what? That's probably the best golden answer to the question is, if you write a line for a character, that line should not be seen as like, that's a Johan line, that's a Cog line. It should be seen as that's a Mahir line. That's if you can look at a line and see it as a character line rather than an author line, that's probably the best. That's probably means you're good.
I mean, if the source material doesn't really give you that much to work with, then I can see some of your own preferences slipping in with like headcanon. I just headcanoned Maya and Jura as shaved and like their planet as being obsessed with shaving.
Yeah,
that's what I like.
You did,
but
bastard.
But I do think it makes sense within the context of things because they're always talking about how they're like obsessed with like looks and cleanliness and like being sleek and like wearing bodysuits. So, I mean, you do have to stretch it a little bit just to get them in the game. So you might as well, expand on their personality a little bit using what you like.
All right, Viz, you have anything to say?
Like, pretty much I think it's, like, acceptable as long as your voice isn't dominating. But then it's gonna be impossible to really completely separate your voice from theirs.
I mean,
on the other hand, I've noticed some instances where I'm starting to talk more like Monika. So
just Monika. That's the name of this podcast episode.
Actually, it should be like bring your own booze because I'm the only one that's drinking age in this cast.
Oh shit, that's right.
Well, we're all American.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an old man here. Everyone else is like still a teenager. Let me tell you, when you hit your 20s, you're just another asshole with an opinion.
God, that's like in a couple of months for me.
Yeah, have fun, asshole. It's not fun not being a teenager.
Alrighty, moving on to the next question. This is topical. What pose or poses do you wish you could make that just aren't possible in Kisuke?
Well, if butt poses are possible and seeing what Mouse did with Amalia, technically anything is possible.
Okay, yeah, you've got me there, but
for normal people.
I just want to be able to make a character point forward. That's it. That's all I want. So you can
make like an Ace Attorney character?
No,
I do think I feel.
Just point at the camera. Yeah. That would be nice.
I think it comes down to, because they can't raise their shoulders or like they move in their arms in 2D, they always end up with like T-Rex arms. Like they can't touch their own faces unless their like elbows are really high up.
That's probably what I want the most because like Titanium covers crotch fully because of how limited the Kaisuke arms are.
So that's I think.
I'm sorry, you cut out for me. What'd you say?
That's probably what I want the most is like better Kaisuke arms because with how it is now, Pit can't even cover his crotch fully.
Yeah, that's right. Like, honestly, There's so many things I want in Kisuke. The one thing I would sacrifice Valerie for a month if it could just mean more arm movement.
That was going to happen anyway. Valerie was going to be delayed.
All right, now that we've gotten the Valerie joke out of the way,
I just want shoulder movement, because if you try to move your arms like without moving your shoulders like a Kisuke model, yeah, you can't touch your own face. So it does make sense, but it's like, why the fuck can't they do that? No, keep making more useless mouths and like keep making skirts like anti-gravity that just flare out. What are you doing, Pochi? Why do I have to construct belts or dresses out of like caution tape? What are you doing, man?
That's what real dresses are made of. Ask any girl.
Joseph can't tell. Why did you pick Kisuke? Why?
Man, I gotta get Joseph Kentel on this podcast eventually. That's the end goal. He's the final boss.
I mean, it's not like he was very good with it. They didn't move their legs. It's true. Look at that. Look at those original characters.
I mean,
Like
hey, you're not
Lilith and
wrong.
Lara. They all look the same. They all have the same face. They don't move their legs. They have like 60 lines.
I mean, that just goes to show you how much the quality of this game has improved since we started.
He was also working with like Kisuke version 20 at the time.
Still, I think it had leg movement, right?
I have no idea.
I'm just guessing here. They probably didn't have caution tape to make dresses out of. Rope belts.
Alrighty, moving on. Next question is, how do you deal with writer's block when working on a character's dialogue? And I get the feeling that, I don't know about SPNatI, the machine that he is, but I know that the rest of us have at least hit some walls while writing our characters.
Well, I'll speak at the end then.
What about you, Cog?
I've absolutely hit those types of roadblocks. But the beauty of working on 4 characters is if you are get stuck on one, you can just switch to another.
I'm sorry, you cut out for me. Can you say that again?
So I've hit those types of roadblocks too, but since I have 4 characters I can work on, every time I get stuck on one, I can just go to another.
Yep, that is the beauty of working on multiple characters.
Keeps things interesting, yeah?
Yep.
Yeah, I always have like a different voice I can consider when writing lines.
What about you, Viz?
Let's just say I don't deal with writer's block very well. I have a tendency to get distracted when I'm working. So, yeah.
Whenever
So the answer is don't get writer's block.
Yeah.
I mean, Monica's been on testing for a while now.
Yeah.
What do you think that is?
I've only ever gotten writer's block with Hanako so far, because she's a shy girl, but not in the like, please don't look at me way. She's more of the shut down and go silent kind of shy girl. So when I got an issue with her, I just tried to take a walk, and Pharos, a guy on the Discord, tried and said maybe try to see how you could imagine the world from her perspective. And it helps a little bit, but there's not much you can do besides just try to like brute force through the writer's block.
Well, if I had to offer my own advice, well, the first one is don't believe in writer's block. Don't call it writer's block. Don't call it a roadblock. Don't like externalize the issue, because the minute you do that, you've just like you've basically shifted the blame off of yourself. You basically said this is no longer my problem. Oh, this is just my writer's block. I can't do anything about my writer's block. and then you're just going to get into this continuous process of like staring at the blinking cursor and blaming everything on your writer's block instead of yourself, which is the problem. Outside of that, don't try to like never go a day without writing anything. Always have, always like do a little bit of writing a day just to like try to keep their voice fresh in your mind. I always create like a bunch of like really, really tinily written like index cards with a bunch of bullet points of like everything the character knows, everything that like happened in their setting, everything that they could like possibly think about like over the course of the game. And like don't, especially if it's like generic lines where you need a whole bunch of them, don't sit there forever to like try to craft the perfect line, because it's never going to happen. You just have to like try to make it flow as much as possible and get some momentum going, and you can be surprised how much you can crank out at once if you just keep the flow going.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing I've noticed. It's like it's really hard for me to start writing, but then once I do, I can usually get out a few more, like a bunch more.
Yeah, it's I think Underscore said this once, where it's harder to write 5 lines than it is to write 15.
You know what? That's true.
The hardest part of is just waking up and sitting back down in front of the character editor again and just getting started for the day, because you have to get into it. The first few aren't going to be as good as like the other 50 that come that day, but you gotta get through it. You gotta start, and eventually you'll just get into your rhythm again, and that's sort of the ritual you have to go through. And you might start doubting yourself a little bit when those first few aren't as good, but I try to avoid at any point having that moment where I'm just staring at the cursor. Either I like look up a clip of them talking again, or I have my index cards to like glance down, like, oh, what are all the things she could think about? What are all the things she knows? Who are all the people that she knows? And if like I haven't used something in a while, she hasn't mentioned this character in a while, then okay, well, how can I make it work? And then I write the line and it comes off a little forced. So it's like, okay, how can I revise it so she thinks of it a little more naturally?
Are you saying you just don't watch all of Black Lagoon or Vandred all over again from the start? What are you, some kind of coward?
I recently watched Black Lagoon in order to write Revi and also Balalaika. I have not seen Vandred in years. Everything I've written for Maya and Jura has been off of memory.
Naughty the fuck?
I haven't seen Vandred. Last time I watched Vandred was like 2015.
I think there were some inconsistencies reported, so it does make sense.
Oh, were there? I'm listening.
A challenge has been issued.
I know there was one thing that like I misremembered. Of like I thought Jura came up with something and it was actually another character, but it was totally in character. It was in character for Jura to take credit for that. So
it was reported on the Discord. I might be remembering like the severity of it, but basically.
Alrighty, moving on to the final question.
I'm not perfect.
What character would you like to see an epilogue for? And what would you want to see in it?
Well, I would like to make an epilogue for Revi at some point.
No. That's not what you don't. No, you got to pick a character you're not working on it or didn't make.
I mean, a couple months ago, Revi would have been my answer. Have her in that cute city outfit she has in the Japan art.
That was then.
In the
This
show.
is now.
Say probably. Say is what another made by the same guy who made Revi. I like Say. She could have a great epilogue, especially since we can now do like tag team epilogues, where like it involves both characters using like new coding advancements that we've done.
Hello.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of which, you're listening to the guy responsible for that, Vision.
Vision is responsible for this game better. Everybody thank him.
Yeah, he's a big deal. Even though Monika's not
He's done
published,
great work.
he's the reason that the game's running smoothly.
I think I'd like to see an epilogue for Kyoko. She's the one that I have off the top of my head.
Is there hand holding?
Yes.
Even more lewd than usual?
No, I don't know. Just like, I don't know. Kyoko's cute, and I think that I'd like to see her smile.
Does she smile at any point in the game?
In Danganronpa?
No, in SPNatI.
Oh yeah, she does.
I don't remember her smiling ever.
She has like a smirk, and a couple of her finished poses use the cartoony smiles, which I'm not too fond of, but you know, what
I
can
just
you
know
do?
that she gradually loses her composure because she has to show her hands, and then once she does, she's like a blubbering mess, and she has to masturbate with her burned hands, and it's just, oh god, I feel so bad for her.
What about you, Viz and Cog?
I'd also like to see a blog for Kyoko, but I'd also like to see one for Elena, because her whole backstory was she was tricked into it by her chancellor, so I'd like to see what the consequences of that in that blog, potentially.
The Chancellor's executed.
The fallout is inevitable.
Heads will roll.
The fallout from the black.
You cut off, and
Don't
thank
worry.
God.
I was just being a fucking loser.
Just being a meme lord, it's okay. Every group needs one.
What about you, Viz?
The first one that comes to mind, the first character that comes to mind that doesn't have an epilogue that I'd like to see is Elizabeth, because she's cute.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot you can do with Elizabeth.
Oh,
And
there is a lot.
She's also the only character on the front page that doesn't have one. And boy, she could use one. I mean, she's got like 3,500 lines. You got to cap that off with a nice epilogue.
Or two.
Yeah.
Is this it? Are we just going to call out you, sir, right now?
Well, he's been thinking about doing one, but I think it's just on the back burner. I mean, there's a lot of choices you could have. Most people want like an orgy with all the Elizabeths. All the alternate universe Elizabeths. Instead of drowning you, they just fuck you. Spoilers.
Anyway.
Me, I'm not really that kind of guy. I'm more like can't you just like bang her under the Parisian sunset? And then you like kiss and have a cigarette.
Why not both?
That's too much going on. I can't hold eye contact with all of them. I can't hold all of their hands at once.
There's only so many hands a man can hold.
Hey, I'm a single woman man.
Which is why
Alrighty.
you go one at a time in Dura's epilogue.
What?
Never mind.
Oh yeah. Well, that's a threesome. But, you know, she's not my waifu, so it's different.
Well, that wraps up all the questions we have. Anything else you want to talk about before we end this episode?
Look forward to Revi getting more lines. She'll be a little less repetitive at first, and then I'll give her some targeted lines to all the new kids on the block. Revi's coming back. She's awakening after a long sleep, and she's fucking pissed as usual. Because I think a long time ago she used to have the most lines in the game.
She's coming back.
Like a bear awakening from hibernation. Except
She's
instead
back
of
in
a,
black.
Except instead of a roar, it's just a long, drawn-out fuck.
She's gonna kick some ass. She's gonna call you a cunt. Go check her out. Eventually. She's not done yet, but she will be soon. She's gonna call everybody a cunt. God bless her.
Alrighty, Viz, any closing words from you?
If and when I get my other projects off the ground, they're probably going to show up like just completely out of the blue like Monika did. So look forward to that.
Boy, that was pleasant. That was a pleasant surprise.
Yep, that was the most chaotic night in SPNatI history that I was a part of.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty sure the Extreme Exhibitionist update was more chaotic, but I wasn't there for that.
Neither was I. and we got a lot better stuff out of this than we did out of the Extreme Exhibitionist update.
Oh yeah. All right, Cog. Any closing words from you?
I try and push updates out for my characters every day, so if you haven't played with any of mine for a while, I'd recommend giving them another go. See if you can find any new interactions.
No. All right. Well, Cog and Viz, it was nice to have you.
It's nice to be here.
Yeah. Really nice to be here and talk with you guys.
All righty, guys. Well, that was this episode, and thank you all so much for listening.
See
Take
ya.
care.
See ya.
Later.